The political arm of the network, backed by billionaire Charles Koch, is releasing a slate of digital ads in key states aimed at Donald Trump. The 15-second ads by the Americans for Prosperity Action Super PAC argue that if Trump becomes the Republican nominee next year, Biden will ultimately be reelected. Take a look.
Trump says this time he'll beat Biden. But 60% of voters don't want Trump to be president. The only way Biden wins is if we nominate Trump again. The American people are ready to move on.
What's Biden's secret weapon? Donald Trump is the GOP nominee. Then Biden wins the White House and gets the House and Senate, too. It's easy to see why Democrats want Trump. It's Biden's ticket to re-election.
Well, and that's what is, Jonathan, that's what's so preposterous when you start hearing like Trump apologists going, oh, he's trying to take out Donald Trump. Biden's trying. No, Joe Biden knows his best shot of re-election is running against Donald Trump.
Political advisors I speak to inside and outside of the White House from the first days of President Biden's term say our best chance at a second term is if Donald Trump is a Republican nominee. Now, of course, they'll say they could beat any Republican, but they understand the dynamics of the race are very, very different if it's a fresh face, a younger face. If it's Donald Trump and they can rehash his record of the last 4 years, his abhorrent behavior, they say, since leaving office, and of course, all of these criminal matters, even the president himself doesn't want to say it, but his allies certainly can. They feel great about that dynamic. That's the race they want to have.
And Mike, we heard in that ad, it really taps into something you hear from Republicans, even Republicans have voted for Donald Trump twice. I'm tired. Let's move on. Come on, let's get.
It is exhausting.
Else.
You know who I bet is also tired? Joseph R. Biden.
Yeah.
Of Donald Trump.
Oh my God.
Because he bears witness every single day to the damage that this guy has done to this country. Every single day. Now, sure, he's the best guy that Joe Biden could face in order for Joe Biden to win. There's no doubt about that. But I think he lives with the damage, the knowledge of the damage that one man, Donald Trump, has done to America.
Kathy, you obviously went out during the 22 campaign. You've been traveling across the country. Do you get a sense among Republicans, the Republican base that is standing by Donald Trump on these issues, do you get a sense from some of them that they are ready to move on? They want to win, and they see Donald Trump as an obstacle to winning.
So it's mixed, and I've spoken to some of them just in the last week since the indictment. Some feel that the more indictments there are, the more it is proof that the government and the Biden administration is out to get Trump, and they've almost hardened their support of him. Some of them do say, yes, that this is exhausting, and if we see another indictment, it might, from Georgia, it may just be the one thing that pushes them over the edge. Everybody kind of agrees there's exhaustion, but you could have a conversation around this table and almost flip it into the world of Trump supporters, and we'd be saying the same kind of things, but from a totally different perspective. Right. That we're exhausted, that, this is an unfair system, that it was a witch hunt. And I think we shouldn't forget the degree to which that is, and the more misinformation that is put out there into the bloodstream. I mean, you don't have to scratch very far into the internet to see the kinds of things that people are looking at.
Those Koch ads are the entire rationale for Ron DeSantis' campaign, which is, I'm a winner. I'm going to win. And the implicit criticism of Trump is he can't win. John Cornyn, Senator Cornyn of Texas, obviously a very conservative Republican, said yesterday when he was asked about this indictment, he said, quote, "It's not good." He said, I think Trump's unwillingness to appeal to voters beyond his base makes it unlikely that he could win a general election. That's from Senator John Cornyn of Texas saying, we can't win with this guy.
And you know what's interesting, Mike, is in 2016, Mika and I think we've told the story several times, we went out with somebody in the Obama administration halfway through the summer of 16. Everybody was talking about Trump at every table around us, at our table. What about this? What about that? Whether it was good, whether it was bad. I noticed something fascinating on Friday night. We were out eating Friday night with friends, and most of them obviously not big fans of Donald Trump. We were sitting around, and we talked about New York, how beautiful New York was. We talked about, I think we talked about baseball. We were talking, it was the night before the Belmont. So we were talking about the Belmont. Hey, did you know it was 50 years ago today that Secretariat won in 70? And we're going through all this, and we're about an hour through dinner, and I thought to myself, on the day Donald Trump's indicted, nobody's talking about him. They would rather talk about a horse that won the Triple Crown 50 years ago and talk about anything else but an ex-president who just got indicted. And I thought, you know what?
That's a change.
This is showing that Americans are we're
tired
to move on with our lives.
Yeah,
well, there's no surprise left in Donald Trump. No matter what he does, no matter what he says, it's no longer surprising. It's no longer shocking. He's removed that from the way we live, the way we exist each and every day. I would be interested in hearing from you, Caddy, whether or not, when you interview all of these supposed Republicans on both sides of the Republican story, whether they're for Trump or tired of Trump, whatever, does anybody ever raise the issue that we speak to many times during the course of each day? These are my boxes. It's my Kevin McCarthy. That this is a terribly damaged psychological individual, Donald J. Trump. Terribly damaged.
Yeah, I think you wish.
Phrase it that way.
Does anybody ever allude to that?
No.
Raise it? Mention it?
No. They feel that he has been victimized and that every single lawsuit that is raised against him, they kind of put in the same bracket of, you see, that is further evidence. It's not to do with the facts of that case. It's to do with the mounting, accumulated evidence that the state is out to get Donald.
I will say, I hear from evangelicals say, he's not a good man.
Yeah.
We wouldn't invite him over to our house. We certainly wouldn't want him around our kids. But he fights for us. He fights for the things that we want. And so that's how some people have justified it in the past. I think it gets a little bit harder. You know, when it's a zero-sum game, when it's a fight between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, or Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, Kamala, when they play that game, what do you want me to do? Vote for AOC and a Martian? And I say, well, no, it's Joe Biden. He's from Delaware, and he was too close to credit card companies, and so. But you can call him a Marxist if you want to. That's one thing. But it's Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump, Tim Scott, Donald Trump, all these other people. Suddenly, it takes away a lot of that argument.
You know what's interesting is if it ends up being Joe Biden versus Donald Trump again, it's a fairly easy thing to frame up from the Democratic perspective, I would think. Basically, it's here's a good man, here's a bad man. Mm-hmm. You decide, and we'll tell you why he's good, and we'll tell you why he's bad, because you already know he's bad.
Well, and the things that we're hearing from the hard right Trump base just doesn't get out there. Again, I think most, as I've said a million times, if Hunter Biden's indicted, people go, oh, that's a shame. It has to be tough on the president. That's a shame. He got indicted. Well, that's the way the system works. If somebody else gets indicted, okay, well, that's a shame. It's what. But this whole thing about
this is a shame,
the Biden crime family and putting them on barges outside of Gitmo, it just makes people.
There are people whose job it is to know what's going on. Who don't share that.
All of the stuff that they do and say about Joe Biden and everything else, that's not where the swing voters are. Now the swing voters are asking, is he too old?
Yeah.
Can he carry on for 4 more years, because he sure looks old? That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about Hunter Biden's laptop.
No.
So that's the real question he has to get through. But between, again, if it's Ron DeSantis, how old's Ron DeSantis? 48?
Yeah, I think
it's DeSantis.
If it's DeSantis, he can go, come on, the guy's too old for the job. If it's Donald Trump, what's Donald Trump, 77, 78?
Like Trump.
Not actually the fittest
in
guy.
a couple of days.
Tomorrow, actually.
Tomorrow. Not actually the fittest guy in the world, Donald Trump. No. It's 77, 78, not the healthiest guy. So, kind of hard for him to make that argument, unlike Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, polling suggests that the president's age is an issue. That's part of why the White House is hoping that Trump is their opponent, because they know that negates a lot of the age concerns, because Trump is only a few years younger. It'd be different otherwise. But to your point, I mean, the things that Republicans are talking about, the Hunter Biden stuff as being the best example, it's to a hardening but shrinking base of support. They're not growing their electorate. They're not gaining any voters by talking about that. They're preaching to the choir. In some cases, the January 6th convict choir. So therefore, they're pretty sure they're for Trump already. So this is going to be a moment where independents and swing voters show, again, they don't care about that stuff. And it's hard to imagine any scenario where Trump has grown his support among the independent swing voters, suburban women who are actually going to decide this election.